Alright, dpunizher from United Arab Emirates. Let's play the Chigorin. Not really good with this opening, but I'm still learning it. C3 is a move, E3 is a move, C5 is maybe a move, I guess. Maybe I can take and E5, quick E5. Huh, what do I do here? Alright, so E5, D takes, E5 knight takes, then what? I get C, double E pawns and it takes C5. Maybe I should take first though, but he has an open bishop. Yeah, I don't want to open his bishop, I don't want to lose the bishop pair. I think this might be good. Ooh. And this is kind of like a McCutcheon's variation in reverse. And what I like to do in the McCutcheon's is take like this. I know it's not book, but I feel like I get more success out of it this way. And then I guess I'll just defend the pawn. And I don't, after knight bd2, I don't think it's defensible, but I can castle and get quick development. So that's what I'll do. Okay, and let's see. Maybe I can just would he really take the d pawn if I? Okay, so I'm looking at rook e8. Rook e8. If queen takes, okay, knight develops and attacks the pawn. I don't really want to trade queens, but okay. So knight develops with tempo attacking the pawn. If he trades queens, if he takes the d pawn, then I have knight b4. And how does he defend against check taking the rook? Also have threats with. Yeah. Okay. So does he really want to castle kingside? I'll probably play queen g5 check. Maybe not. King f1. Some interesting moves. So let's see. Yeah, this might be alright for him. Alright, where's this bishop going? Let's see. Is there a way I can attack the queen? Let's just defend this this pawn here after he kicks the knight. And I guess I'll just try to attack this pawn or get a knight in the center or something. Alright, so he wants to threaten. It's not really a threat here, but he wants to threaten bishop. So let's try to open the f-file by playing knight up, maybe bishop first or something. Yeah, I guess I'll play back. Can't see a reason to wreck my pawn structure. Now here, I think I have knight takes, which might be a good move since the pawn is pinned to the bishop. So that might be a move that gives me the advantage. I also have knight c2, which attacks the rook, and the weak e3 pawn. I might be able to break through. I think a5 is pretty good. Alright, so he unpinned. I guess I'll just move back. I do have g6 as like a last resort if he piles on. Yeah, so Knight e4 blocks the diagonal. There's tempo on the knight because the knight would have to capture, which would open the f-file against his king. So the bishop's the problem piece here. Okay, so his knight's getting active, but I get another pawn. Is that good? Maybe knight in the center. Okay, he's going here. Alright, so he's taking a while to think. He has about a minute clock advantage. I need to get my dark square bishop out. Not sure how to do it. Let's play knight or rook here. Just so maybe I'll be able to push this pawn, open the g-file. I think I'd play g5 and g4 just to gain space on the king side. If b5, knight a5, maybe I can get knight b3 to d2, exchange this defender. Oh, okay, so yeah, I don't think I'll take that. I think I'll just threaten it and then take with the f-pawn if he does take. Maybe he'll take the knight now. So this knight's going to c4 to d2 maybe. Okay, so the f-file's been opened. Now the f3 square is weak for a knight. And queen g4 check is covered by the knight right now. He does have knight g5 now, which blocks knight f3, but I might just sack that pawn on f3. But maybe I don't have to. This might be an idea. Let's come out king safe at 30 seconds. Maybe just rook here, just attacking the... That was a strong bishop, but this is such a strong knight. I don't know which one's better. Okay. Need to get this bishop out. And bishop here looks good, attacking the knight. And also opening the f-file. f2 is weak. That would be mate, if I could take on f2 now. So I'll pin that knight to mate, maybe he'll take my queen. And mate. Alright. Good game. dpunizher. Alright, let's take a look at that. Alright, so it's Jagoran defense, and I don't know, knight f6 could be a move here, e6 can be a move. I usually like to get the bishop out first. Taking could be a move. Then d5. I think bishop g4 is probably the main line. I'll have to check that later. Yeah, c5, maybe in this position, e5, maybe to work to fianchetto this bishop since this is so locked down, or maybe bishop e7 to f6. It does gain space on the queen side, and it's really hard to find a good square for this bishop. But e5 comes quick, and yeah, the self-pin. I really like ruining this this structure, even if it sacks a pawn. it opens a line against his king, which was used in the game. So queen takes is interesting. It kind of puts his king to quit. Where is he going? He doesn't want to go on the queen side because he wants to open up the queen side, and he doesn't want to go to the king side because he's so fractured and opened. So king f1 is a interesting decision. Knight c2 doesn't do anything. So yeah, just avoiding the queen trade and continue with development. Queen g2 is really a faux threat, like a false threat. It doesn't actually. He'll never be able to play bishop g4 and skewer me, because I always have f5. I mean, a natural developing move, like a normal move, like knight f6 would parry that, and king b8's on the cards. So okay, so a3 kicks my knight back. That's fine. Okay, so I think this is where the game really turned. b4 was a blunder, because well, it does open up his dark square bishop, which otherwise didn't have. Maybe he did see it, or maybe he didn't, but it actually did have a positive to it, where after knight takes, it did open this long diagonal for his bishop, which didn't have a good square prior to that move. So, and then his bishop comes to d3, which is a good square, puts pressure on f5, and if he can get this pawn, he has a skewer, and there's tactics that come with that, where he can move to like queen g5 with tempo on that threat if this knight were to move. It also cuts good squares away from this knight, but I wasn't going to go to c2 anyway. So I guess all in all, I gained a pawn, but I lost a tempo and a kind of a racy position where the kings are on different flanks, and both sides try to propel their pawns on each side of the board, trying to open each other up. I do think that knight e5 comes quick if you play something like b5 now, it attacks the bishop. Bishop doesn't move, and it is impossible for me not to open a file. But after the bishop moves, I can take on c5, and yeah, it looks equal to me, but maybe black has an advantage, just because he's a pawn up and these fractured pawns. Actually, I'm not a pawn up here because I sacked a pawn earlier, so I would say white would have an advantage in that position. Then again, he does have huge weaknesses. It's not so clear. My king is safer for the moment. Maybe he just didn't. Maybe he just didn't play the position correctly. Maybe pushing his pawns faster was a better idea. So he moves his knight to the king side. I thought maybe b3. Just keep pushing his queen's kind of not in the right. So I don't know. Queen g2 earlier seems to maybe be a mistake, because he wants his queen to be maybe in this side of the board, maybe more central squares in this region somewhere. So that way, when the game starts to open up, his queen can slide over to a2, or I don't know, create an attack on my king where there's very little pieces defending, and I do have a bad piece here. It's really hard to find a place to develop it. If I move it now, not there, but maybe there, the g-pawn hangs. So, but I don't know, maybe I would sacrifice that pawn just to open up the g-file and connect rooks. The queen would get sidelined on h6 after rook g8. So okay, I guess he wouldn't take this pawn, but then the knight's actually hanging. Oh, the bishop would be on e7. So yeah, it's kind of an unclear position, I think. So knight e4. It does really maximize the power of this bishop on this diagonal. He really does control a lot of key dark squares with his bishop and knight. So it's really hard for me to break through in the center. But f4 does seem to be the advance I'm looking at, just trying to open his king. So yeah, weak dark squares in the center really made this position hard. But I think this is one mistake he made. He already had his rook on a pretty good square. I don't think he really improved the position by playing rook c1, because if he's worried about b5 and losing the c5 pawn, rook c1 does not defend it because there's two attackers. Maybe he's thinking about removing the defender first, and then playing b5, in which case I still have knight a5. And okay, he does get an open line, but this knight has to go somewhere, and I'll probably capture. I guess we'll go to d4. So let's take a look at that. If he goes, it's my turn to move. What did I play here? So I played rook g8. So if he takes here, he can go here and then threatening b5 eventually. So I guess I would take, and I guess bishop would take just to stay in the long diagonal. And it's well, kind of an unclear position, but I think after the bishop tries to go to the square, I guess h4 to stop that idea. G5, just improving this rook. This rook's going to go on f8. This rook's going to go on g8, opposite the queen, and this rook opposite the king. And I just don't see an attack here for white on the queen side. So he has a bishop of the wrong color. He's going to have to really push these pawns. I think my attack's faster. I have the open f file. It's hard to say how he keeps the g file closed because I'm threatening to take, and he can't push this pawn now. So maybe h4 is not a very good defense to rook h4 or bishop h4. Maybe he could force the issue by trading queens here. Or maybe something like this. And actually this would be better for white maybe, because after takes, it does seem like well, they have a pretty even position. I would pick white. He has a more active rook, a bishop on an outpost square blockading my central pawns. He has the open g file, putting pressure with his double pawns are really stopping my pawns from advancing. So let's go back real quick. Alright, to keep this short, this is turning into a long video. So here, yeah, so knight g5. I guess I could have taken, but I just thought that the h-pawn, I didn't even consider him taking there because it just seems like it loses too much time, which I think ultimately it did. So yeah. So I'm not sure if the bishop had a take here either. Maybe even bishop b5 here would have been a good idea, just to retreat to. No, I guess he could retreat to e2 or a4 after c6, for example, and then he would have a weakness to go against with a like a minority attack. And then rook c1 would all of a sudden make sense, because after c6 and b5 with the bishop on a4, there's a lot of pressure on c6. So removing this knight, defending the c6 square, for example, something like this, defending the rook, unless, I don't know. The only other move I can see is this, removing the knight back, but this seems like a step in the wrong direction, because I specifically played, well, rook d8 does look fine, c6 does look fine as well, but c6 looks worse in the fact that b5 now, let's see, what does white play here? Say knight c4, I don't know. b5, and okay, white's attack does start to speed up. So maybe there's an improvement. And so taking here just opens that file. I get this monster knight. So at the moment, my knight is better than his, but his bishop is better than mine. Alright, so he defends his bishop. I go for king safety because it's a long time. He puts his bishop on an outpost square. I guess he wanted to save his bishop. But I never intended to capture. Had I, well, I could have done it here. So after king b8, I don't think it was necessary to move the bishop yet. I've already kind of admitted that I think this piece is better than his bishop, so no need to exchange there. Okay, so I think he wasted tempo there, trying to preserve his bishop. My bishop is bad, so okay. There's some logic to it, but so I like this idea of getting my bishop out on e7 to threaten the knight, where he doesn't have time to take on e7, because I'll take the knight. I'll have two pieces for a rook with these weak h pawns and this monster knight. This, I think Tartakower says a knight on the third rank just towers of strength, and here's why. It's because they just cover so many squares, and each of these squares go to their own their own kind of they just control so many squares, so it's a lot of arrows, a little too much, but they just control so much of the white territory. So I've also heard that depending on the position of the knight and the position, but a knight on the third rank is often worth more than a rook, so oftentimes you'll see ideas like rook d1 and just capturing the knight, doubling my pawns, which might be an idea for white. Okay, so he still hasn't done anything about these pawns, and you'd expect by move 27 that he would have opened up a diagonal or a file against my king, but now it's me that's doing this, so he's really have a lot of pressure on the g file, but it's unclear how he's going to use that besides winning the g pawn. So knight f7, I was actually looking at knight e6, because this stops this idea of rook f8, or at least for a moment, where I have to sack the exchange, I think. Where if he takes my queen, we have the same continuation as the game, rook f2 mate. And, so rook f7, runs into rook f8. And how does he defend? If he takes the queen, then rook takes, and if queen takes the rook, then I skewer mate, so I don't think there's a way to defend like this. He does have rook here. Okay, but I take, so no, I can't take the queen because, well, black would probably still win this position. I don't think he has anything special. I think he's in trouble still, mainly because this rook really did need a sacrifice for this knight. It's really out of play unless he's going to push these pawns, but in this position he's losing. Okay, so maybe a better try was in 96, where maybe I would play, I guess I'd threaten mate first. How does he deal with it? He, well, maybe he could play just rook g2. So this kind of gets out of a lot of the mating nets. Maybe even king e2 could have been an idea. Okay, but maybe even knight f4 just to trade off this knight. Maybe second a pawn. Actually, it doesn't sack a pawn, and the bishop would then defend f2. So that's an idea. Blocks the f file a little bit with pawn takes f4. The bishop defends the f2. I mean, maybe that's an idea. So, anyways, I kind of like that, but rook g2. I guess I would take if I was white, and then here just play rook g2. And now the g pawn's kind of hung, and I guess after bishop h4, maybe even, we'll see, it's not mate now, because after the trade, there's breathing room for the king here and here, where before, when the rook takes here, he occupies this square, and the rook was on this square, so yeah, so bishop h4 might be an idea. And yeah, okay, so that move is aggressive, but doesn't seem good. Maybe just queenie too. And I'm not really seeing. Okay, so there is this attack though, so. Materials even, but it's not really what you're looking for. Maybe just getting rid of the f2 pawn, making way for your rook, so if bishop takes, you just get on a light square and you're preparing either rook d1 to sacrifice the exchange and collect this pawn after the recapture, or sorry, rook d1, so, and then rook f1 to just exchange this last rook and win the g pawn and maybe trade the queens on the weak back rank. I think white's winning here. The exchange, this knight suddenly isn't doing too much. All the attention switched to the g file, and now he's actually using this to not attack my king, but just win positionally with these past h pawns and all these heavy pieces. Alright, well, it's been long enough, so let's go through this one more time. So e5, kind of a quick move. There was other options like knight takes and pawn takes, but the c5 pawn's weak, and I can always capture double those pawns and recapture in the center, where I think black has a good game. So I gain space and I work his pawn structure. I do know this is a pawn sack. I just in this position I thought there was, I thought there was better. Maybe knight f6 was better than what was played in the game, where I just lose this pawn without compensation. But I did want to castle queen sack quick and go for quick development. And this here, this queen idea is just, it threatens, a key central pawn, which we can c5, and also the sacrifice pawn on the h5 square. So I'm most certainly getting my material back here. He could have taken on d5. I didn't see after knight b4 how he defends on c2. So bishop e2 defends against knight takes d4, and I can't take because the bishop doesn't have to take. Knight can take, and then d4 is defended. So I attack c2 the other way, and king f1, kind of a strange move, but I guess it makes sense in the position. So I escaped the queen trade, and I think one of the mistakes here was this bishop is actually kind of an awkward square. Maybe bishop b5 here, provoking c6 or knight c6 was better, just attacking the rook, because he wants to give his queen e2 so he can get his queen to the queen side when he goes to attack and push his pawn later for a minority attack sort of structure, where usually there's no c pawn in the minority attack with a c6 d5 pawn chain, where these two pawns attack these three queen side majority. So queen g2 just doesn't seem like in the spirit of his attack, but okay, it holds it together. And I think just the wrong idea by not pushing these pawns. He should play b5 and just open up lines. He's not scared of bishop c5. I don't think. I haven't analyzed it too deeply, but or maybe even knight b3 first, just to get b5 in quick, because you want to play b6. You want to open up lines. You want to get this queen's diagonal going. This knight on the queen side. He puts his knight. He develops his bishop, which is fine, but he puts his knight on the king side, really blocking his queen. His queen can't go to the queen side too easily. There's just a lot of pieces in the way, and the g file is what I want to open up. So it puts his pieces in a, where I want them to go. And ultimately, after this, after I open the f file and maneuver some pieces, but after knight f7, whoops. So after knight f7, ultimately is the f file that calls for a quick mate. So, alright, that was a good game. dpunizher. Sorry for the long analysis. I just kind of got into it. Thanks for watching.